Hi, everybody. I am going to do a really quick version of the course orientation so that you can get the sort of overview of the class and have some ideas about the best ways to participate and stay on schedule and things like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if it lets me put it on presentation mode because that'll be a little bit better, but I'll just talk through what you need to know about the class. Apparently that does not work. We will just do it like this. There we go. Okay. So hopefully it'll let me change the slides. I haven't tried it this way before. All right. So this is English 201 for spring 2026 first session. So we will be done by about the end of the first week of March, right before the university spring break takes place. So 8-week course. It's set up so that there's like a module for each week. The content for the class is generally we're going to be talking about persuasion and argument, how persuasion works, how it works in like real life situations. We're also going to be working on research writing and kind of putting those things together. So the main assignment we're going to do is the term paper. We're going to do it in smaller pieces. Starting in week 2, you guys will pick a topic, and then it'll be like every 2 weeks, a major part of it is due. With feedback along the way. I hope you'll pick something that you're interested in. There's a lot of ways to tailor it to your interests and make it something that you don't mind working on. It'll walk you through a very realistic process of how to persuade people, starting with where are they coming from first, which is about the only way you ever change anyone's mind is starting with where are they coming from and how can I respond to that. So we're going to be looking at that in a lot of detail. There will be some other shorter assignments throughout the semester where you are either reinforcing content that we've gone over or you're practicing pieces of the term paper, practicing research, practicing citation skills, and things like that. Um, the textbook for the class is Thank You for Arguing, fourth edition. I don't know if they are opting you guys automatically into the textbook access program. This is a hard copy book, and so if you're waiting for them to give you the book, they probably have to mail it. You may want to find one of the PDF versions, even if it's the older editions. Those are usually the ones students are able to find online. That's fine for these first few chapters. It'll be later where the chapter numbers start changing. Things like that. If you're having trouble getting your textbook, let me know. There's videos to go along with it, but it really helps if you can read the book as well to get a little bit more detail than the short lecture videos gets into. So the class is asynchronous, so we don't have set meeting times. Everything you need to complete the course is available in Canvas or in your textbook, but you definitely do need the textbook. If you need to talk about concepts from the class in greater detail, need help understanding assignments, help understanding feedback, anything, email for short questions is perfect. But if you need to have a longer discussion or want that back and forth, we can do virtual office hours. I have set hours. I think the syllabus says Monday and Wednesday. It's really Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Pretty much from 9 to 3, except for 12 to 1 when I'm in an in-person class those days. That's all Central Time. I don't stay logged into Zoom, but I get an email when someone logs into the room. So just give me a minute to get logged in. And if for some reason I'm already meeting with someone else or I'm in another meeting and can't talk to you, I'll send you an email right away to let you know and let you know when I'll be available again. But I keep the email open the whole time that I'm in my office hours so that I can jump on there really quickly if you need me. And if you need to pick a time that isn't in those hours, because I know a lot of students in here are also probably working regular work hours and may not be able to stop and have a conversation with their English professor, just let me know what time you need and what days work for you, and we can set something else up. So it doesn't have to always be in those hours. Those are just the times that I'm like, I can respond really quickly or jump into Zoom really quickly. Do make sure you're looking at the feedback on all the assignments because I'm very passionate about future tense oriented feedback on writing. I'm always going to be framing it in terms of what do you need to know to do well on the next assignments or future assignments in the course or future assignments in other courses. And so make sure you're looking at the feedback because that can help you do well on the next assignment. I'm also fine with revising. So if you ever like missed a step on an assignment or something and you want to revise it, if you lost any kind of substantial number of points, generally speaking, I'm going to put a note in there, hey, add this section and turn it back in for the rest of the points. But if you ever want to revise something and I haven't explicitly asked you if you want to, you still can do it. If you want to check with me, you can, but you're going to be able to. When we get closer to the term paper, I'll let you know sort of like the timeline if you want to be able to revise it for a higher grade. This is just our weekly schedule. This is all over the place in Canvas and also on our syllabus. And there's also a calendar. So you can look at all of the different things, whichever way portrays it the way that it makes the most sense to your brain. I love calendars, but here's a list that kind of goes through what we're doing and focusing on each week. So you can see the second full week of the semester, we start working on the term paper. 2 weeks after that, you guys will turn in a draft of the first section of the term paper. And then 3 weeks after that is when the full term paper is due. In fact, this is a perfect place to say, if the term paper is on time, I will grade it and get it back to you pretty quickly so that you still have a few days if you want to make any more changes and resubmit for a higher grade. However, if it's not in by that Sunday, March 1st deadline, there won't be time to revise. So I won't take points off if you miss that deadline, but you do want to make sure if you want a chance to revise that it is in by that deadline. Even if you're not done, turning it in partly done to get some feedback can be better sometimes than holding on to it. So I'll remind you of that as we get closer, but just sort of keep that in mind as an incentive to get it in by the due date. Generally, we are going to follow these two due dates. Thursday is the midweek due date for initial discussion board post, the pre-assessment quiz for most weeks. I would try to be done with the reading and watching the videos by Thursday so that you've got Friday, Saturday, Sunday to do the bigger assignments for the week. Between Thursday night and Sunday night, you should do two discussion board replies, whatever weekly assignments are due that week. And then there's a post-assessment quiz that is exactly the same as the pre-assessment quiz. It's just to like help us assess learning and make sure people are learning stuff during the semester. Other things I talked about office hours already about like what they're for, and I already kind of talked about this. So we're just gonna skip ahead. For other ways to contact me, email is generally pretty quick. The only thing is like if you have emailed me and you don't get an answer within like a day, I'm not going to get upset with you if you send a follow-up. Sometimes I will be in the middle of writing an email and someone will walk into the office or join a Zoom, and then I don't ever finish the email and send it and I forget about it completely. I try to go check my drafts and make sure I don't do that, but sometimes it happens. Or sometimes I open it thinking I can answer it from my phone and it turns out I can't, but then it's still marked as read, so I think I already answered it. So like if that happens, don't be afraid to follow up. I will not get upset with you, I promise. Don't follow up 5 minutes later because it's probably not going to be that quick. But you know, it's fine if you need to send a follow up and make sure something gets seen. It's super easy to overlook emails. I know y'all get a lot of emails. Just multiply that by about 50, and you probably have how many I have. So I do my best to answer them, only open them when I'm responding. But every once in a while, something falls through the cracks. So you can send a follow up. But if I'm in my regular office hours, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you're going to get an answer probably pretty fast, unless I'm otherwise occupied. Even then, it'll probably be before I leave for the day. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Sometimes your questions will help me understand that I forgot to say something or explain something well, so they can help me in addition to you. Probably there's other people wondering too, so don't be afraid to ask them. I'm never going to get upset. Even if it's a question that is answered on the syllabus or in Canvas, I'm probably still going to answer it. There's a lot of information on there, and it's not always easy to find what you need. So don't be afraid to ask questions. All right. Other things to keep in mind to do well this semester. Don't forget about the discussion boards. I do participate in most weeks. There's one week that I don't because it'll make sense when we're in that week. It's related to the term paper, and I'm not writing a term paper. But aside from that, I will make a post as well. So if you are someone who is trying to do your work earlier in the week and you don't want to wait until Sunday, and this discussion board thing is crimping your style of doing things ahead of time. My husband is like that when he does online classes, and so I understand. I'm not, I'm a procrastinator. I'm the 11:59 on Sunday person. But if you are in the group that wants to do things early, uh, basically you always have the option that you can respond to yourself and you can respond to me. That sounds weird to say you can respond to yourself, but when you're in there and looking at the questions, I think it'll make sense. A lot of those questions are describe a scenario, and then other people are going to come give advice based on the scenario described. And so you can give advice to the scenario you created as well. You can reply to mine. And so that way you can do your two replies early. You don't have to wait for other people to post on Thursday at 11:59 if that's what everyone else is doing. So that's always an option to help you get things done earlier in the week if that's what your schedule either requires or what just makes you comfortable having things done earlier. If you have something in you that makes you do things early, if you have like tricks, you can share those with me because I can't trick my brain into it. However, I designed the class that way because I know that there are people who either because of their own preferences or because of the way that their schedule goes, they're not going to want to wait until Sunday night to be able to make replies or even necessarily Friday. So that's always your option. The only exception is week 5. You might have to wait for one more person to make a post. Um, the rest of the time, that's always acceptable. Big thing, just sort of try to stay on schedule because this class goes by really, really fast. All of your classes on this 8-week schedule are going to go by really, really fast. So if you start to fall behind, you will probably get a check-in from me, just sort of like, hey, you want to make sure you're okay? Do you need help understanding anything? And I promise I'm not trying to guilt you. I just know from experience, after about a week, it starts to get really out of hand to try to catch up and do well. And I don't want anyone in that situation. So I promise I'm not trying to guilt you. I just want to find out how I can help you get back on track because I want everyone to pass. I want everyone to make a grade that they're really happy with. And a lot of that is really just sort of staying caught up because a lot of the assignments we do are pieces of the larger project at the end. And I want to make sure that everybody's ready to do that and do well on it. Make sure you're checking feedback. I already said that in another place. Also, be looking for the graded assignments, probably Mondays and Tuesdays. I'm hoping Mondays generally, to have all of your work for the week graded feedback so that you can keep that in mind if it affects anything you're doing in the next week. So look for the feedback Monday and Tuesday. If it's ever going to take much longer than Tuesday, I will give you guys a heads up so that you know, and kind of plan around that if it's necessary. Okay, so I think that's pretty much the gist of it. What I'm going to do really fast is switch over to the Canvas class and just briefly show you how it's laid out so that it's easy. You'll see a welcome video and this video right here on the main page when you land because they're not there now, but they will be shortly. And the main things you need to get through the class is to go to the modules page, and it's just like a module for each week. Now, the top has all the like course information. It's all of that stuff is also on the syllabus. It's just also broken down into smaller sections, like here, the course description, all of that stuff. It's also on the syllabus. Quick tip for making this a less junky page is to hit the little downward facing triangle there. And you can minimize any that you're already done with. They don't go away, they just minimize so you don't have to scroll as far. If you need to join the virtual office, this is the link right here, so it's pretty close to the top. And then after that, it's just a module for each week. And so you just work your way through it. I would just say start on the first page. If you're going to do it all in one sitting, you can easily skip through the pages with this next button. So like you just sort of navigate through it in order. When you get to the videos, they're going to be popping up in order. That main page is kind of a checklist for you. If you're kind of analog like I prefer to be sometimes, you can even print this thing off and then check off on it as you go through the week, and make sure you got everything done, or however else you might like to do it. But that's a way if you prefer paper stuff, because I still enjoy that sometimes too, and I understand it if that's you as well. But yeah, you can just click your way through with the next button. I'm not going to go through the entire module, but if you ever need to stop partway through, just kind of make a note of where you are, and then you can rejoin it, wherever you were in the order and go through. If you either have a hard time hearing, or you're like me and you just really like captions and prefer to read what people are saying, you can watch it actually on YouTube. So any of these videos, you can click the link and go over to YouTube and skip through the ad that it tries to give you. Sorry. I guess y'all can tell I shop at Old Navy sometimes. Um, and then if you want to turn on the closed captions, just click the CC button. I've checked the captions and they've all look pretty accurate. There's a much younger version of me there on the screen. But that is helpful to me when I'm watching videos. I love having captions on, and so that's an option if you want to be able to see them. Just go over and follow the link to YouTube, and then you can come back over here and navigate your way to the next video and so on. So that's the main thing you need to know. And then when it comes to grades, you'd be able to click on that and see what your grades are in the class. I don't have any grades, but it'll show you the whole running total and so on. It'll show you what all of your grades are. If you ever miss something and you were late, this link from Canvas, for some reason, from this page in Canvas, does not always take you to the assignment. I have students telling me that it's closed. Can I reopen it? It's not closed. Just go back to the modules page and then follow that link to the assignment instead, and it will let you get to it. I don't close any assignments once they're due, so you can come back to them at any point. Okay, so if you have questions about how any of the class works, just send me an email, use office hours. I am here to help. I'm really glad you're in the class, and I hope we all have a great semester together.